Commander Zarathel pressed her scaled palm against the cool metal of the observation deck's viewport, watching the human fleet maintain their defensive formation beyond the asteroid field. 3 cycles had passed since the first contact protocols failed, and now both species teetered on the edge of a war neither could afford. Her amber eyes tracked the elegant movements of the human vessels as they adjusted their positions with a precision that both impressed and concerned her. Still studying them, Captain Veltar's voice carried the familiar tone of disapproval as he approached from behind. His crimson uniform bore the battle honors of 12 campaigns, each victory earned through overwhelming force and strategic superiority. The Council grows impatient with these delays. Zarathel turned from the viewport, her expression calm despite the tension radiating from her superior officer. Impatience breeds poor decisions, Captain. These humans are not like the other species we have encountered. Their tactical responses suggest a level of adaptability that our standard engagement protocols cannot address. The Kethri had built their empire through careful observation and calculated risk. For 700 years, they had expanded across the galaxy by studying their opponents, learning their weaknesses, and applying precise pressure until surrender became the logical choice. Yet here stood a species that defied their established patterns, responding to every probe and faint with innovations that seemed to emerge from nowhere. Adaptability is irrelevant when faced with superior numbers and technology, Veltar stated. Those words lack their usual conviction. The human fleet consists of 47 vessels. Our task force numbers 131 ships of the line. Mathematics does not lie. Zarathel had reviewed those same numbers countless times, but statistics failed to capture what she observed in the human formations. Their ships moved with a fluidity that suggested something beyond mere tactical training. Each vessel seemed to anticipate the movements of its companions, creating defensive patterns that shifted and evolved in real time. Permission to establish direct communication with the human command structure, she requested, knowing the response before the words left her lips. Denied. The Council's position remains unchanged. We offer terms of surrender, or we proceed with enforcement action. Veltar's scaled features hardened into the expression he wore during battle briefings. These humans have demonstrated hostile intent by refusing our generous offer of protectorate status. The humans had indeed rejected the Kethri proposal, but Zarathel suspected their refusal stemmed from misunderstanding rather than aggression. The translation matrices struggled with human linguistic concepts, particularly their notions of independence and self-determination. Words that seemed straightforward in Kethri carried implications that apparently triggered deep emotional responses in human psychology. As if summoned by their discussion, the communication console erupted with priority alerts. The duty officer's voice carried confusion as he announced, "Commander, we are receiving a narrow-beam transmission from the human flagship. The signal is addressed specifically to you." Veltar's expression shifted to one of suspicion. Impossible. Our communication protocols are classified at the highest levels. How would they know your designation? Zarathel moved to the console, her mind racing through possibilities. Display the transmission parameters. The holographic readout revealed details that should have been impossible for the humans to obtain. The signal frequency matched her personal command channel, and the encryption signature bore markers that indicated intimate knowledge of Kethri communication systems. More disturbing still, the message header contained her full name and ancestral lineage, information that existed only in the most secure military databases. This represents a security breach of unprecedented magnitude, Veltar muttered, but his anger mixed with something that might have been fear. How could they have obtained such classified information? The transmission itself proved even more unsettling than its technical specifications. A human male appeared on the screen, his appearance unremarkable by the standards of a species. Medium height, brown hair, features that would blend into any crowd. Yet his eyes held an intelligence that seemed to look directly through the screen and into Zarathel's thoughts. Commander Zarathel of the 5th Expeditionary Force. The human began, his voice carrying an accent that the translation matrix identified as originating from the human world designated Terra Prime. My name is Marcus Chun, and I serve as diplomatic liaison for the United Earth Federation. I believe our species have much to discuss. The implications of his knowledge struck Zarathel immediately. Not only did this human know her identity and rank, but he had somehow identified the specific military unit under her command. The 5th Expeditionary Force operated under deep classification protocols, their existence known only to the highest levels of Ketheri command. I understand this communication may seem impossible, Chun continued, seemingly aware of the confusion his message would create. I also understand that your current orders likely prohibit unauthorized contact with our forces. However, I believe recent events have demonstrated that both our species possess capabilities that extend beyond conventional military doctrine. The human paused, and for a moment his professional demeanor slipped to reveal something deeper. Pain, perhaps, or the weight of difficult decisions made under impossible circumstances. 3 days ago, our long-range sensors detected gravitational anomalies in the Kepler 442 system. The distortions match the signature of Ketheri dimensional weapons. Yet our analysis indicates the technology was used to prevent a stellar collapse rather than cause destruction. A star that should have died instead burns brighter than ever before. Zarathel felt her pulse quicken. The Kepler 442 incident remained classified at levels that required personal authorization from the High Command. A civilian research colony had faced extinction when their primary star began an unexpected collapse sequence. The 5th Expeditionary Force had diverted from their current mission to deploy experimental stabilization technology, saving 4 million lives, but revealing capabilities the Ketheri preferred to keep secret. How could you know about Kepler 442? She whispered, though she knew the human could not hear her response. Chen's image smiled, and somehow that expression conveyed both warmth and profound sadness. We know because we were watching, Commander, not through sensors or surveillance, but through methods that your science and our struggle to explain. Some among our species possess abilities that extend beyond the physical realm, allowing them to perceive events across vast distances. The explanation defied everything Zarathel understood about the natural universe. Faster-than-light travel required massive energy expenditures and complex dimensional calculations. Instantaneous perception across interstellar distances belonged to the realm of theoretical possibility rather than practical application. I realize how this must sound, Chen continued, addressing objections he could not have heard. My own government struggles to accept the existence of such capabilities. Yet the evidence cannot be denied. We know about Kepler 442 because one of our telepathic scouts observed your intervention from a distance of 12,000 light years. Veltar stepped forward, his expression thunderous. Terminate this transmission immediately. The human is clearly attempting some form of psychological manipulation. But Zarathel found herself unable to look away from the screen. Chen's words carried a sincerity that resonated with something deep in her consciousness. The Ketheri had encountered dozens of species during their expansion, and experience had taught her to recognize deception in its various forms. This human exhibited none of the tells she associated with falsehood. The real question, Chun said, his voice growing more urgent, is why a Ketheri commander would risk exposing classified technology to save the lives of beings who can offer nothing in return. Our analysis of the Kepler 442 system indicates that the research colony possessed no strategic value and no resources worth claiming. Yet you deployed weapons that could have conquered entire star systems to preserve a failing star. The observation struck closer to home than Zarathel cared to admit. Her decision to intervene at Kepler 442 had generated significant controversy within the command structure. Resources that could have been used to secure strategic advantages had instead been expended on what many considered a pointless gesture of mercy. This suggests that your species values life for its own sake, Chen continued. Such a perspective indicates fundamental compatibility between our civilizations, despite the current tensions. Commander, Veltar's voice carried warning. Regulation 774 prohibits unauthorized communication with hostile forces. Yet, Zarathel found herself reaching for the communication controls, her fingers hovering over the response activation key. Something in the human's manner suggested possibilities that extended far beyond the current military standoff. If even half of what he claimed proved accurate, then both species possess capabilities that could revolutionize their understanding of existence itself. I propose a meeting, Chen said, as if reading her thoughts. One representative from each side in neutral territory. The asteroid designated TK 7751 in your charts offers adequate facilities and strategic value to neither fleet. We could establish temporary life support and meet under whatever security protocols you deem appropriate. The suggestion violated every military principle in the Ketheri Tactical Manual. Meeting with enemy representatives outside controlled territory invited countless opportunities for betrayal and deception. Yet the alternative seemed to be a conflict that would cost thousands of lives and potentially reveal capabilities both sides prefer to keep secret. If you agree to this meeting, Chen added, I will share information that explains how we obtain knowledge of your classified operations. In exchange, I ask only for the opportunity to demonstrate that our species' continued coexistence serves interests far greater than territorial expansion. The transmission ended, leaving silence in the command center. Veltar immediately began issuing orders for security analysis and threat assessment, his voice sharp with the authority of someone accustomed to absolute obedience. But Zarathel remained focused on the now empty screen, her thoughts turning over the implications of what she had witnessed. The human's claims are obviously fraudulent, Veltar declared, though his certainty seemed forced. No known technology allows for instantaneous perception across interstellar distances. He must be bluffing based on intercepted communications. Then, how did he know my personal designation and unit classification? Zarathel asked quietly. That information exists in only 3 databases, all of which require quantum encryption keys to access. Veltar paused in his analysis, clearly struggling with the same questions that plague her thoughts. The security implications alone warranted immediate investigation, regardless of whether the humans possessed supernatural abilities or merely sophisticated intelligence-gathering capabilities. We should report this incident to High Command and request additional forces, he finally suggested. If the humans have compromised our communication networks, then our entire operational security may be at risk. But even as he spoke, Zarathel found herself considering alternatives that would have seemed impossible just hours earlier. The human named Marcus Chun had demonstrated knowledge that should not exist, yet his manner suggested genuine concern for preventing unnecessary conflict. If his claims about telepathic observation proved accurate, then the tactical situation contained variables that no military doctrine could adequately address. Captain, she said slowly, what if the human is telling the truth? Veltar's expression shifted through several emotions before settling on professional concern. Commander, you are suggesting that we base strategic decisions on the unverified claims of an enemy operative. Such thinking borders on what? Zarathel interrupted. On the recognition that our standard assumptions may be inadequate for the current situation. Our intelligence reports indicate that human technology should be inferior to our own, yet their defensive formations demonstrate capabilities that our tactical computers cannot predict or counter. The observation hung in the air between them, carrying implications that neither officer wanted to acknowledge. Military superiority had always provided the foundation for Ketheri expansion policy. If that superiority proved illusory, Then, everything they thought they knew about their position in the galaxy required reevaluation. Even if we accept the possibility that the humans possess unusual abilities, Veltar said carefully, meeting with their representative carries unacceptable risks. The asteroid, he suggested, offers no tactical advantages and multiple opportunities for ambush. Yet refusing the meeting guarantees the very conflict we are trying to avoid, Zarathel replied. Our mission orders specify that we should seek resolution through negotiation whenever possible. This human has offered exactly such an opportunity. She turned back to the viewport, watching the human fleet maintain their positions with mechanical precision. Each vessel followed predetermined patterns, yet something in their movements suggested readiness to adapt at a moment's notice. The combination of discipline and flexibility reminded her of her own response to the Kepler 442 crisis, when standard procedures proved inadequate for an unprecedented situation. I'm going to accept his proposal, she announced, feeling the weight of the decision settle across her shoulders like a ceremonial cloak. Prepare a shuttle for departure to asteroid TK 7751. Standard diplomatic protocols, but with full defensive systems active. Veltar's protests filled the command center, his voice rising to compete with the sudden burst of activity as the crew began implementing her orders. But Zarathel had moved beyond the reach of conventional military thinking, driven by intuition that insisted this human Marcus Chun represented something far more significant than a simple diplomatic overture. As the shuttle preparations continued around her, she found herself wondering if the light she had seen in Chen's eyes might indeed prove to be Starlight, burning with an intensity that could illuminate possibilities neither species had previously imagined. The surface of asteroid TK 7751 resembled countless other pieces of rock floating in the vast emptiness between stars. Yet Zarathel felt an unexpected sense of significance as her shuttle touched down on the artificially leveled landing pad. Emergency atmosphere generators hummed quietly in the thin air, creating a bubble of breathable environment around the makeshift meeting facility that had somehow appeared during the 6 hours since Chen's transmission. The human had arrived first, his shuttle a sleek design that incorporated technologies Zarathel did not immediately recognize. Unlike the utilitarian craft favored by most species, the human vessel seemed to blend aesthetic considerations with functional requirements, creating something that was both efficient and beautiful to observe. The attention to visual appeal suggested a psychology that valued harmony even in purely practical applications. Marcus Chen stood, waiting beside a prefabricated shelter that bore no military markings or defensive systems. His clothing appeared civilian rather than military, consisting of simple dark fabric that seemed designed for comfort rather than protection. The contrast with her own environmental suit and weapon systems created an immediate asymmetry that spoke to the different approaches their species brought to potential conflict. Commander Zarathel, Chun said as she approached, his voice carrying clearly through the communication system built into her helmet. Thank you for accepting this meeting. I realize the risk you have undertaken by coming here. The words carried genuine gratitude rather than the calculated courtesy typical of diplomatic exchanges. Zarathel found herself studying the human's posture and expression for signs of deception or hidden agenda, yet detected only an earnest desire for meaningful communication. Your transmission contained information that should have been impossible to obtain, she replied, maintaining the formal tone appropriate for first contact protocols. I have come to learn how you acquired classified Kethri data. Chen nodded, as if he had expected this opening. The explanation will require me to demonstrate abilities that your science may not accept as genuine. Are you prepared to observe phenomena that contradict your understanding of natural law? The question struck Zarathel as unnecessarily dramatic, yet something in Chen's manner suggested he spoke literally rather than metaphorically. Military training had taught her to approach unknown situations with careful observation rather than preconceived assumptions, so she indicated her willingness to proceed. Before we begin, Chun continued, I should explain my background so you understand the context for what you will witness. I was born on Terra Prime, but raised on the frontier colony of Kepler 186F, where human settlement required constant adaptation to an environment that challenged our biological limitations. He gestured toward the barren landscape surrounding their meeting point, the gesture encompassing the hostile emptiness of space beyond the atmosphere generators. Living in such conditions teaches you that survival often depends on capabilities that extend beyond technology or physical strength. Some colonists developed what we call expanded awareness, the ability to perceive information through channels that our science struggles to explain. Zarathel had encountered similar claims among various species during her military career, though investigations invariably revealed conventional explanations disguised as supernatural phenomena. Yet Chen's confidence suggested personal experience rather than cultural superstition. The ability manifests differently in each individual, Chen continued. Some can sense emotional states across great distances. Others perceive future possibilities or past events. In my case, I can establish direct mental contact with conscious beings, sharing thoughts and experiences as if they were my own memories. The claim violated fundamental principles of quantum mechanics and information theory. Direct mind-to-mind communication would require energy expenditures that exceeded the output of most stellar bodies. Yet Chun spoke with the casual confidence of someone describing routine activities. You mentioned telepathic observation.